The air, thick with the ghosts of forgotten fortunes and the sharp tang of freshly cut flowers for the evening's display, wraps around you like a shroud. Your hand, calloused from years of gripping cold steel and colder truths, rests on the worn edge of a mahogany display case. Outside, the city hums, a distant, indifferent beast. Inside this auction house backroom before a record sale, a different kind of quiet presides, a hush of suspended anticipation, soon to be shattered. You are Cole Vance, and weariness clings to you like the fine dust motes dancing in the anemic light filtering through a grimy skylight. Another evening, another vigil, cataloging the city's opulent refuse. Your gaze drifts over the inventory sheets, columns of figures blurring, each number a silent testament to someone else's faded legacy or sudden, desperate need. A part of you, the part that once burned with a brighter flame, aches for a different kind of challenge, a puzzle not solved by ledger entries and provenance reports. But that part, like so many others, has been carefully, meticulously buried. The metallic shriek of your communicator cuts through the quiet, a jagged tear in the fabric of the evening. You flinch, a reflex born of too many midnight calls. The display screen flickers to life, showing the urgent, familiar face of a colleague, his brow furrowed, eyes wide with an uncharacteristic alarm. "Cole," his voice crackles, a strained whisper that carries more weight than any shout. "You need to get down here. Level B, Storage Bay 3. You know that tone. It's the language of raw discovery, of a scene that strips away the veneer of routine. With a sigh that feels centuries old, you push away from the polished wood, the scent of old paper and dust suddenly cloying. The auction house, a labyrinth of hushed corridors and echoing chambers, transforms from a place of commerce into a prelude to something far more sinister. The scent of ozone and something metallic grows stronger, a primal warning. Storage Bay 3. The door, usually ajar, is now sealed. A single uniformed officer standing guard, his face pale beneath the harsh fluorescent lights. He nods, a silent acknowledgement of the grim tableau awaiting you. You step inside, and the air immediately thickens, heavy with the stench of copper and something else. Fear, perhaps, or simply the absence of life. There, amidst stacks of crated antiques and shrouded sculptures, lies the body. A man. Or what's left of him. His arm is flung out, fingers splayed as if reaching for something just beyond his grasp. The back of his expensive suit jacket is torn, revealing a grotesque tapestry of wounds. It's not just a murder. It's an act of brutal, almost ritualistic violence. A colleague, the lead investigator on call, kneels beside the deceased, his expression grim, a gloved hand hovering over the scene. "No ID on him yet, Cole. But look at this." He gestures with a slight nod towards the body. No forced entry. The security system here is state-of-the-art. No alarms tripped. It's like he was let in. Or he belonged here. You approach slowly, your gaze sweeping the periphery. No overturned furniture. No signs of a struggle that would suggest a robbery gone wrong. This wasn't a random act of street violence. The colleague points to a gaping wound on the man's lower back, a precise, deep incision. Looks like a single, devastating blow, something sharp, heavy, expertly delivered. The other injuries, though, he trails off, a flicker of unease in his eyes. They're post-mortem, or at least after the killing blow, designed to send a message. Your eyes trace the pattern of lacerations on the man's back, a deliberate defacement that speaks volumes. Then, your gaze catches on something glinting faintly in the dried blood near the man's outstretched hand. A small, intricately carved wooden bird, no larger than your thumb, its wings spread as if in mid-flight. It doesn't belong. You crouch, careful not to disturb anything, your eyes fixed on the tiny artifact. The colleague follows your gaze. Haven't touched it. Looks like some kind of charm. Maybe it fell from him? But it doesn't look like it fell. It looks placed. A signature. A macabre calling card. This isn't just another murder. This is a thread, tugging at something deep within your own buried past, threatening to unravel the carefully constructed walls around you. The small, dark bird, carved from a material you cannot yet identify, rests in the dust beside the fallen employee. Its stillness is a stark counterpoint to the chaos of a life abruptly ended. Your gaze travels from the bird to the man on the polished floorboards. He was the chief appraiser by all accounts, a quiet man with a meticulous eye for antiquity. His body lies sprawled, an arm twisted at an unnatural angle beneath him. The initial assessment from the uniformed officer was a fall, a tragic accident in the dimly lit back room, perhaps a misstep on the slick, varnished surface. But your eyes, honed by years of sifting through human wreckage, tell a different story. The way his jacket lies, unruffled, the delicate placement of a silk handkerchief peeking from his breast pocket. It's too neat. Too composed for a sudden violent tumble. You reach out, your fingers hovering over the bird. This isn't a random object. This is an invitation, a challenge, a signature as you'd thought. You push it down, for now, focusing on the present, the stark reality of the scene. Cole, what are you doing? The voice, crisp and impatient, belongs to the lead investigator, a man whose ambition often outpaced his intuition. He strides into the room, his movements disrupting the quiet reverence of the scene. We've got an open and shut. Tragic fall, nothing more. The preliminary reports are clear. You stand slowly, your eyes never leaving the fallen man. Clear, perhaps, to the untrained eye. But look closer. You gesture with a sweep of your hand. No disarray, no struggle. This man didn't trip and fall. He was placed. The lead investigator scoffs, running a hand through his thinning hair. Placed? You're seeing ghosts again, Cole. We've got pressure from the top. The auction is tomorrow. This place needs to be cleared. The owner is already calling every half hour. Pressure or convenience, you murmur, ignoring his dismissive tone. You move closer to the body, kneeling again. The evidence technician, a diligent but often harried woman, works methodically nearby, bagging samples. Your eyes scan the appraiser's hand, half curled, resting on the floor. Something catches the light. Wedged between his thumb and forefinger, clutched with surprising force, is a tiny folded piece of paper. It's not just paper. It's parchment, aged and brittle, a faint, almost invisible crest pressed into its surface. What's that? The lead investigator asks, stepping closer, his curiosity momentarily piqued. You carefully extract the parchment. It's no bigger than your thumbnail. Unfolding it with utmost care, you reveal a single exquisitely drawn symbol. It's an intricate, swirling design, almost like a stylized knot, but with sharp, angular edges that hint at something ancient and powerful. It's not an auction house logo, nor any symbol you recognize from your years on the force. This, you state, your voice low, is not part of a tragic fall. You turn the parchment over. On the reverse, barely visible, are two letters, meticulously rendered. VC. The lead investigator shrugs. Could be anything. Initials, a reference number. Don't make a mountain out of a molehill, Cole. We're already behind schedule. The chief wants this closed by end of day. No fuss, no drama, especially with the Vance family auctioning off their rare collection tomorrow. They don't tolerate disruptions. The name Vance hangs in the air, heavy and resonant. A shiver traces its way down your spine. The powerful, untouchable family. Their collection, the centerpiece of tomorrow's record sale, is rumored to hold items of immense historical and perhaps esoteric value. You glance around the back room, at the crated masterpieces, the veiled statues, the carefully cataloged relics awaiting their moment in the spotlight. Could the appraiser's death be linked to one of these silent, waiting treasures? You hold the tiny parchment, the VC staring back at you, a silent accusation. The bird carving, the impossible neatness of the scene, the cryptic symbol, and now the mention of the Vance family. And the knot in the parchment, the initials. They feel like a key, unlocking a door you'd long ago sealed shut. A door to a past you desperately tried to forget. The name Vance hangs in the air, heavy and resonant. A shiver traces its way down your spine. The powerful, untouchable family. You glance around the back room, the air thick with the scent of aged paper and the faint, sweet dust of forgotten things. Rows of wooden crates, meticulously labeled, line the walls. Each holds a fragment of someone else's past, now destined for a new owner. Your gaze drifts over the stacked vinyl, a dizzying array of sleeves from across decades. The current victim, the quiet collector found lifeless in their study, had a similar passion. You begin your methodical search, fingers tracing the spines of albums, a phantom echo of the victim's own touch. Your mind sifts through the sparse details of the current case. A single, inexplicable wound, no forced entry, nothing stolen. Yet something feels profoundly amiss. A specific crate, marked Vance Collection, Rare Vinyl, draws your attention. Unlike the others, its lid is slightly ajar, a sliver of darkness hinting at its contents. You lift the heavy lid, the wood groaning softly in protest. Inside, nestled amongst meticulously preserved LPs, is one that feels out of place. Its sleeve, a faded sepia-toned image of a jazz ensemble from the 1940s, seems older, more worn than the pristine album surrounding it. You pull it out, the vinyl inside feeling substantial, almost weighty with history. Your thumb brushes against it, and a tiny, brittle piece of paper folded multiple times dislodges from the inner seam. It falls into your palm, a delicate, almost forgotten whisper from the past. You carefully unfold it. It is a photograph, small and grainy, its edges softened by time. The image shows a group of young people laughing, their faces caught in a moment of carefree abandon. They stand before an ornate wrought iron gate, its distinctive crest clearly visible even in the faded print. The Vance family crest. Your breath catches. But it's not the gate that holds your attention. It's one of the faces. A young woman with bright, defiant eyes. This is a thread, thin but taut, stretching across 50 years. The Rosewood Manor incident. The current victim, a meticulous collector, known for their deep dives into obscure histories, now dead. Was this photograph the key? Was the victim investigating the Rosewood Manor incident? You carefully refold the photograph, tucking it into your inner jacket pocket. The vinyl album, a seemingly innocuous relic, now feels like a weapon. Your mind races, connecting the dots. The victim's meticulous nature, their interest in local history, their sudden violent end. And now this photograph, a ghost from a past that the Vance family desperately wanted to keep buried. A colleague, their voice a low rumble, approaches. "Anything, Cole? The manager wants to secure the collection soon." You turn, maintaining a neutral expression. Just a rare pressing. Thought it might be worth a look. You nod towards the crate. "This Vance collection. Anything unusual about it? Any items that stand out or have a peculiar history?" The colleague shrugs, oblivious to the storm brewing beneath your calm facade. "Not that I know of. The Vance family is notoriously private. They just send their estate manager, a very prim and proper individual, to oversee things. Everything is inventoried, cataloged to the letter. They don't miss a thing. They don't miss a thing." The words echo in your mind, sharpening the edges of your suspicion. If the Vance family was so meticulous, how did this unlisted photograph, linking directly to a scandal they had buried, end up in one of their collection's record sleeves? Was it placed there recently? By whom? And for what purpose? This isn't a simple murder investigation anymore. It's a descent into a past designed to remain forgotten, a past entangled with power and privilege. The victim, the Vance family. The threads, once invisible, are beginning to unravel, and you are pulling at the very first one. You move through the aisles, a phantom among the tangible, your gaze sharp, a hunter's focus. The photograph, still a ghost in your mind, whispers its presence. Was it placed there recently? By whom? Your fingers, calloused from years of navigating the rough edges of human deceit, glide over the rows of vinyl, an archive of forgotten melodies. Each sleeve holds a world, a story, but you seek a specific anomaly. The collection, catalogued with fastidious precision, should be an open book. Yet, the photograph had been an unlisted chapter. You find the specific lot, a mahogany crate bearing the Vance crest, and begin a slow, deliberate inspection. The records within are pristine, each cover encased in clear plastic, a testament to preservation. You recall the specific record, a rare jazz pressing, and pull it out. The sleeve is identical. The slight crease you remembered from handling it still there. You turn it over, examining the inner lining, the subtle texture of the paper. There is nothing overtly amiss, no fresh tear, no recent glue. His smile is a practiced artifice, revealing nothing but a hint of gold at the corner of a molar. Just appreciating the collection, you respond, your voice even, betraying none of the tension coiling in your gut. Indeed, the Vance collection is unparalleled, no detail overlooked. His eyes, dark and knowing, meet yours. Sometimes, however, an overzealous hand, a misplaced curiosity, can disrupt such delicate arrangements. It can complicate matters for everyone involved. The words are soft, almost a murmur, yet they land with the weight of a gavel strike. A veiled threat, thinly disguised as a polite observation. He knows. He knows you're digging. And he knows what you found. You hold his gaze, an unspoken challenge passing between you. Complications are often where the truth resides, you offer, a quiet defiance in your tone. The auctioneer's smile tightens, a hairline fracture in his composure. Perhaps, but some truths are best left undisturbed, wouldn't you agree? Especially when they involve families of such influence. Reputations are fragile things, Cole. Easily shattered. And sometimes the shards can cut those who are not careful. He inclines his head slightly, a gesture that feels more like a dismissal than a courtesy. Our sale begins in an hour. I trust you'll find nothing further to... You stand for a moment, the jazz record still in your hand, the auctioneer's words replaying, a sinister melody. No detail, overlooked. Yet the photograph. The contradiction gnaws at you. A small, almost imperceptible detail catches your eye. A small, handwritten sticky note, barely visible on the inside of the crate lid, which you distinctly remembered seeing during your initial inspection, is gone. It had read, Lot 347, J. Miller. Urgent review. A minor detail, perhaps, easily dismissed as a misplaced note. Your mind races. Miller. The young man who had been meticulously cataloging the collection. The one who had seemed overly nervous when you first inquired about the provenance of the older records. He was the one who had mentioned a last-minute addition to the inventory, a box from the family's private vault. You remember his name vividly. He was your first point of contact. A nervous energy about him that suggested he knew more than he let on. You make your way to the small, cluttered office tucked away behind the main gallery, a space typically occupied by the catalogers and junior staff. The clerk at the front desk, a woman with a severe bun and sharper spectacles, looks up as you approach. Excuse me, you begin. I'm looking for the junior cataloger, Miller, J. Miller. She peers over her glasses, her expression unreadable. Miller? He won't be returning. Left quite suddenly without much notice. Her eyes behind the thick lenses flick to a spot just past your shoulder, then back to her screen. The movement is subtle, but you catch it, a flicker of something she's trying to hide. Without notice, you press, the urgency in your voice barely contained. He just disappeared? He resigned, she corrects, her tone clipped. Effective immediately. A personal matter. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a sale to prepare for. She dismisses you with a curt nod, her fingers already flying across her keyboard, a wall of efficiency slamming shut. The words echo in the sterile office, resonating with the auctioneer's earlier warning. A misplaced curiosity can disrupt such delicate arrangements. Miller, the nervous cataloger, the urgent review note, now vanished. The sticky note, gone. The subtle shift in the auctioneer's demeanor. It's a calculated sequence, a deliberate sweep of the board. The pieces are moving, not by chance, but by design. The game has begun, and you are no longer just an observer. You are the target. The sterile hum of the previous office still vibrated in your ears. The clipped dismissal of the colleague a sharp counterpoint to the growing unease in your gut. He resigned. A personal matter. The words, so casually delivered, felt like a stone dropped into a still pond, ripples expanding, touching everything. You walked, not towards your vehicle, but towards a whisper of a lead, a name murmured by the precinct's oldest archivist, a name found scrawled in the victim's forgotten journal. The Collector. And the Collector, it seemed, had a penchant for the rare, the unseen, the items destined for the block. Velvet ropes guard a maze of display tables, each laden with treasures shrouded in protective cloth or illuminated by soft directional lights. Curators, dressed in severe black, move with a quiet reverence, their gloved hands adjusting a porcelain figurine, aligning a stack of leather-bound volumes, or carefully turning a canvas to catch the light. Their whispers are like rustling silk, their eyes sharp, appraising. The sheer volume of wealth, waiting to exchange hands, is staggering. A guard, broad-shouldered and impassive, gives you a cursory glance as you flash your credentials, then returns his attention to a distant corner. A silent sentinel. You are searching for a specific lot number, a single entry in the thick catalog you'd procured from the front desk. Lot 317, miscellaneous personal effects, estate of victim's last name. It's tucked away in a less glamorous section, a large wooden crate, half open, revealing a jumble of what appears to be ordinary objects. Your fingers, usually so steady, tremble slightly as you reach into the crate, displacing a scattering of old photographs. One image catches your eye, a black and white print of a bustling street scene from decades past. Nothing remarkable until you see the banner in the background, half obscured by a lamppost. Grand opening, Vance and Sons haberdashery. A jolt, sharp and unwelcome, shoots through you. Vance, your family, your grandfather's shop, long since closed, a ghost in the city's memory. Why would the murder victim possess this? You sift through the remaining items in the crate, a frantic desperation seizing you. Beneath a stack of old magazines, your fingers brush against something stiff, rectangular. You pull it out. It's a small, leather-bound journal, its pages brittle with age. No title, no author. Just a series of dates, meticulously entered in a looping, elegant hand. You flip through, your thumb catching on a loose page. It's a newspaper clipping, carefully folded and tucked into the spine. The headline, yellowed and stark, screams at you. Unsolved. Local merchant's daughter disappears. Police baffled. Below the headline, a grainy photograph. A young woman smiling, her eyes bright with a life that was stolen. Her name, your aunt. The one whose disappearance shattered your family, whose ghost lingered in every hushed conversation, every unspoken grief. The journal falls open to a page dated just days before her disappearance. The script is tight, agitated. He knows. The collector knows. He has the ledger. Vance and Sons. The ledger. He threatened to expose everything if I didn't cooperate. The old family secret. The arrangement. He wants more than just the ledger now. I can't go to the police. Not with what he holds. He's connected to the family, the untouchable ones. The collector. The current murder victim knew this name. The current murder victim had this journal. The untouchable family. The very phrase used in hushed tones about the powerful figures you've been circling in this current investigation. The pieces, jagged and sharp, begin to slot into place with a horrifying precision. The two are intertwined. A Gordian knot tied with threads of blood and secrets. The murder of the man whose journal you hold, the disappearance of your aunt decades ago. They are 2 points on the same malevolent timeline, connected by the same insidious forces. It's not the quiet, simmering frustration of a jaded detective. This is primal, personal. Your family's torment, the reason for your very career, is not a forgotten history, but a living, breathing part of the conspiracy you are now facing. The ground beneath you shifts, the professional distance crumbling into dust. You clench your jaw, the leather of the journal digging into your palm. You cannot walk away. You would not, even if you could. This is about redemption. For your aunt, for your family. You look up, your eyes scanning the hushed figures, the impassive guards, the silent, valuable objects. You stood there, the journal a lead weight in your palm, its brittle pages whispering secrets meant for no one. The collector. The name resonated, a discordant chime in the quiet hum of your thoughts. The words, etched in a precise, almost elegant script, spoke of your family. Not just of distant kin, but of an old secret, a convoluted arrangement, and the chilling imperative of silence. This was no mere case. This was a mirror, reflecting a truth you had instinctively avoided for years. A voice, sharp and unyielding, sliced through your reverie. Cole, a moment. You turned, the journal still clutched, to face the captain. His eyes, usually pools of weary authority, now held a steely glint. He didn't need to see the journal. The very air around you, thick with unspoken questions, was enough. The commissioner himself called, the captain stated, his voice low, devoid of its usual gruff warmth. This case, it's sensitive. We're to narrow the scope. Focus on the immediate circumstances of the death. No tangents, no digging into old family histories. He paused, his gaze boring into yours. A silent challenge. Understood? You met his eyes, a silent battle waged in that charged space. The words were a direct order, a transparent attempt to cordon off the truth. They were a barrier, erected by hands unseen yet impossibly strong. The system, designed to uphold justice, now sought to suffocate it. Your jaw tightened. Understood. You replied, the lie a bitter taste. But the word was a shield, a necessary deception. You knew, with a certainty that thrummed through your bones, that this was where you stepped off the prescribed path. The official channels would become an echo chamber of denial. Your first move was to sever the tether. The journal's words, the captain's warning, the image of your family crest, long ignored, now burned behind your eyes. This was personal. This was primal. The first thread, thin as spider silk, led you to an abandoned factory, its skeletal remains silhouetted against the bruised twilight sky. Here, you met an old contact, a grizzled informant whose eyes held the weary wisdom of 1,000 back-alley deals. He spoke in hushed tones, glancing over his shoulder as if pursued by unseen specters. The collector, he rasped, his voice a dry rustle. He moved things, Not just art, information, favors, and the arrangements you speak of, old families, old money. They own the judges, the lawmakers, the uniforms. Your gut clenched. The conspiracy wasn't just about a single murder, a single victim. It was a sprawling, insidious network. Its roots burrowed deep into the very foundations of the city. The powerful family, your family, was not merely protected by this system. They were its architects, its silent benefactors, its unyielding core. Every hushed word, every averted gaze, every missing file now made terrifying sense. The victim's journal was a key, but to unlock it meant tearing down a carefully constructed edifice of power and deceit. As you drove away, the informant's warnings echoing in the cavernous space of your thoughts, your phone buzzed. It was a message from your partner. You had gone off-book seeking the truth outside the official channels, and in doing so, you had unwittingly painted a target on your partner's back. They hadn't just warned you. They had moved to isolate you, to cripple your investigation, and in doing so, they had exposed the one person who still stood by your side. The vast network of corruption wasn't just protecting the powerful, it was actively hunting those who dared to pry. Here, wealth whispers its intentions, not shouts them. Priceless artifacts, still shrouded in their protective cloths, stand like silent sentinels, awaiting their moment in the light. Each object holds a story. Yet you are here for a narrative far more sinister, one etched in blood and betrayal. You blend into the periphery, a shadow among the eager collectors and their hushed entourages. Your eyes, however, cut through the polite veneer, scanning for the telltale signs of power, the subtle shifts in posture that betray dominion. A stir ripples through the room, a collective intake of breath, subtle yet undeniable. All eyes, like iron filings drawn to a magnet, pivot towards the entrance. He appears, not striding, but simply materializing. A figure carved from granite and tailored silk. The patriarch of the influential family. His presence is a physical force, pressing down on the atmosphere, stealing the oxygen from lesser lungs. He moves with the unhurried grace of a predator who owns the jungle, his gaze sweeping the room, acknowledging no one, yet seeing everything. You watch him, a knot tightening in your gut. He is older than you remember from the sparse photographs, his silver hair a regal crown, his face a landscape of etched lines that speak of shrewd calculation and unyielding will. His eyes, twin pools of calculated calm, betray nothing, yet promise everything. This is the man. The revelation hits you with the force of a physical blow, not as a sudden flash, but as the inevitable conclusion of 1,000 insidious threads woven together. He is not merely connected. He is the nexus, the spider at the heart of the web. He pauses by a display case, a rare manuscript gleaming beneath the spotlights. The patriarch inclines his head, a gesture barely perceptible, yet laden with command. You catch a fragment, a low murmur like the rustle of dry leaves. The arrangements are no lingering threads. His eyes flick to the associate, a silent question passing between them, then a brief, almost imperceptible nod of satisfaction. It's not enough, not nearly enough. He is the architect, the puppet master, pulling strings that stretch into the highest echelons of the city. He is not merely protecting his family. He is protecting an empire built on secrets, and perhaps on blood. Your gaze locks onto him for a fraction of a second too long. His head, imperceptibly, turns. A flicker, quick as a serpent's tongue, passes between you. No recognition, no challenge, just an acknowledgement of your presence, a silent assessment of an unknown quantity. You are seen. He doesn't need to speak. His power radiates, a palpable force that warns you away. How do you gather evidence against someone whose every word is law, whose every action is insulated by layers of loyalty and fear? You feel the weight of your solitary quest, the absence of your partner a gaping wound. The patriarch turns away, dismissing you with the sheer force of his indifference. He moves towards a small, roped-off area where a select few are already gathered, their faces eager, their postures deferential. The tension hums, a low, dangerous thrum beneath the surface of your skin. You are closer than ever, yet further from justice. Weight of history, of fortunes amassed and lost, presses down. You stand amidst the silent treasures, your purpose a dissonant chord in this symphony of opulence. Your gaze sweeps across the glass cases, past jade figurines and ancient scrolls, searching for the anomaly, the thread that pulls this tapestry of wealth into the grim reality of a murder. Your eyes snag on a small, unassuming wooden box tucked away on a lower shelf, almost lost amidst the more flamboyant displays. It's too plain, too simple for this grand collection. A quiet whisper of instinct guides your hand. It's lighter than you expect, the wood smooth beneath your fingertips, worn by countless touches. A faint, almost imperceptible etching on its underside, a stylized sigil, confirms your suspicion. It's the mark of the family, subtly woven into the very fabric of their dealings. Inside, nestled on a bed of faded velvet, lies not jewelry or currency, but a collection of brittle, yellowed receipts and a small, leather-bound journal. The ink on the journal's pages is faint, the script cramped, but even a cursory glance reveals names, dates, and figures that paint a chilling picture. A hidden ledger, disguised as a personal diary, detailing illicit transactions, payoffs, and a complex web of financial manipulation, all pointing directly to the family's patriarch. The blood-soaked threads of the murder case suddenly snap into sharp focus, a direct line from the victim to this very book. You have it. You finally have the tangible proof. What exactly are you doing? You turn, the journal still clutched in your hand, to face a familiar figure. Behind him, two uniformed officers stand rigid, their expressions unreadable. The ledger. It connects the family directly to the victim, to the whole operation. You extend the journal, an offering of undeniable truth. The commander's gaze, however, does not fall upon the journal. Instead, it locks onto your hand, then to a small, glistening vial that rests impossibly between your thumb and forefinger. Your mind scrambles, trying to process the impossible apparition. Where did it come from? How did it get there? Cole. The commander's voice is low, laced with a pity that feels more like an accusation. We received an anonymous tip. An officer, a detective, attempting to tamper with evidence at an active crime scene. Specifically, attempting to contaminate an artifact with a known accelerant. His eyes flicker to the wooden box, then to the journal. And then, to fabricate evidence. The world tilts. Accelerant? Fabricate? You look down at the vial, then back at the commander, a bitter tide rising within your chest. This isn't mine. I've never seen this before. This is a setup. One of the uniformed officers steps forward, his movements precise, almost rehearsed. He carefully takes the wooden box from the shelf where you had momentarily placed it, and with a gloved hand, brushes against the side of the box. He then gestures to a faint, oily sheen on the velvet lining of the box. Traces of the same accelerant, Commander. And the item itself shows signs of recent handling, inconsistent with its display history. Your gaze snaps back to the commander. He isn't listening. His eyes are hard, already convinced. Your past record, Vance. Your unconventional methods. They've always been a concern. But this? This is a bridge too far. Before you can protest further, before you can point to the true evidence, the journal in your hand, the commander gestures to the uniformed officer. Secure the scene. He takes the wooden box, then reaches for the journal. No! You roar, the word tearing from your throat. That's the real evidence. It's proof. But it's too late. As the officer's hand closes around the journal, the commander takes a step forward, his foot catching on the edge of a loose rug. He stumbles, an almost imperceptible wobble, but enough. His arm swings out, striking the officer's hand. The journal, brittle with age, slips from their grasp. It falls, not onto the plush carpet, but directly onto a low, antique table adorned with an ornate silver candelabra. The delicate flame, previously a mere flicker, now dances with a sudden, voracious hunger. In a horrifying, drawn-out moment, the aged pages of the journal catch fire. The flame races, devouring the cramped script, the damning names, the precise figures. Your heart, a leaden weight, plummets to your stomach. Careless. The other uniformed officer, with a practiced calm, extinguishes the flame, but it's a futile gesture. The journal is a charred, unreadable ruin. The evidence, the proof you had sought so tirelessly, is gone. Hand over your badge and your service weapon. The metallic tang of anticipation from earlier has morphed into the bitter taste of defeat. Your hands, still trembling from the shock, reach for your holster. As you surrender them, the commander's gaze holds yours, a silent, damning verdict. The city lights outside, once a beacon of possibility, now seem to swim in a blur of injustice. The conspiracy, a hydra you thought you had cornered, has not only escaped, but has turned its venomous head back upon you. You are fighting the very system you swore to uphold, a system designed to protect the guilty, and it has just delivered a crushing blow. The cold weight of the badge, once a familiar comfort, now rests in the commander's palm, a small, polished stone of your professional demise. Your hand, stripped of its steel, feels hollow, a ghost limb reaching for a purpose suddenly snatched away. The sterile air of the office, usually a crisp backdrop to your daily grind, now presses in, a heavy shroud. The streets blur, a canvas of indifferent faces and hurried movements. But beneath the gnawing ache of defeat, a spark ignites. Not anger, not despair, but a quiet, burning resolve. They took your shield, but they couldn't take your sight. They stripped your authority, but they couldn't erase the truth etched into your memory. You navigate the labyrinthine corridors, past crates overflowing with shrouded treasures, past hushed conversations about provenance and bids. The back room, when you finally find it, is a stark contrast to the front-of-house glamour. Fluorescent lights hum above, casting a stark glow on stacks of catalogs and bubble-wrapped artifacts. A lone figure sits at a makeshift table, hunched over a laptop, its screen a flickering beacon in the muted chaos. This is the journalist, the one whose byline you've seen slowly vanish from the city's major papers, swallowed by the same powerful current that now threatens to drown you. Cole. The journalist murmurs, without looking up, their voice raspy, like gravel over ice. Took you long enough. You slide into the chair opposite, the plastic creaking under your weight. They moved fast. They always do when you get too close, the journalist retorts, finally meeting your gaze. Their eyes, though tired, hold a fierce, unyielding fire. I've been tracking this family for years, and it all leads back to the auctions. They're quiet, untouchable transactions. As the journalist speaks, the door to the back room creaks open again. They move with unpracticed ease, a silent observer in their own domain. This is the insider, the voice on the burner phone, the fragile bridge between your world and theirs. The insider doesn't speak, but their eyes, darting between you and the journalist, convey a nervous urgency. They place a small, leather-bound ledger on the table, its cover worn smooth with age, and slide it towards you. It details certain transactions, items that pass through here without official record. And the dates, Cole, they align with every unsolved disappearance, every accidental death that touched the family's interests. Your gaze falls upon a specific entry, highlighted with a faded ink circle. Lot 73, undisclosed origin. The reveal hits you with the force of a physical blow. The auction house isn't just a front, it's a conduit, a silent graveyard for both objects and inconvenient truths. They launder reputations, their voice barely audible over the distant murmur of the pre-auction crowd, is coming up for sale. Tonight, Lot 117. It belonged to the witness. Your breath catches. A tangible link. Not just to the witness, but potentially to the family's method of operation. It's a risk, a blatant taunt. Perhaps a careless oversight. They wouldn't be stupid enough to put it in a public auction, you muse, your mind already racing, piecing together the threads. Not a public auction, the journalist corrects, pointing to the catalog. A private, invite-only pre-sale for special clients. They think it's secure, untraceable. The tension in the cramped back room is palpable, a live wire humming with unspoken danger. You are stripped of your badge, your authority, your official standing. Yet in this moment, surrounded by discarded boxes and the ghosts of forgotten objects, a new plan begins to coalesce. The locket. It's the bait, the proof, the key. Their eyes glinting with a renewed purpose. It won't be easy. Security is tighter than a drum, and the family's enforcers will be everywhere. We need irrefutable proof, you reiterate, your gaze sweeping over the journalist, then to the nervous insider. Something that can't be dismissed as a disgruntled ex-detective's delusion. Something that ties the locket, the ledger, and the witness directly to them. The insider, emboldened, points to a small, almost invisible camera lens embedded in the ceiling above the auction stage. There's a blind spot. For a few seconds, during the transition between specific lots, the main feed shifts. A window. Small, but there. A desperate high-stakes event begins to take shape in the hushed back room. The plan is audacious, bordering on suicidal. You, Cole, will use the insider's knowledge of the auction house's inner workings, the journalist's network of contacts, and your own honed instincts to infiltrate the pre-sale. You are no longer just a detective. You are a hunter, and the hunt begins tonight. Around you, the preparations unfold with a practiced silence. A ballet of gloved hands adjusting spotlights, security personnel moving with predatory grace, and the soft rustle of documents. Each movement is a beat in the drum roll leading to a crescendo, a sound only you can truly hear. You stand by a heavy, draped table, your gaze fixed not on the priceless artifacts, but on the faces of your allies. The journalist, a quiet fire burning in their eyes, runs a thumb over the cold metal of a small, discreet camera. The insider, pale but resolute, clenches a hidden earpiece, their breath a shallow whisper against the polished veneer of a display case. Their knowledge of this labyrinthine structure, of its hidden passages and its watchful eyes, is your compass. The plan, audacious and fragile as spun glass, hinges on a single item. A small, unassuming bronze statuette, one among a collection of antiquities set to cross the block. A colleague, whose trust you had painstakingly rebuilt, offers a fleeting, grim smile. We've got a window. 10 minutes before the pre-sale viewing opens to the full crowd. The security chief will be distracted by the family patriarch's arrival. The signal is a subtle shift in the lighting overhead, a flicker known only to the staff. It's time. You move, a ghost among the velvet ropes and hushed opulence. The air hums with the low thrum of conversation, the clinking of glasses, the soft rustle of expensive fabrics. Your eyes cut through the room, past the art critics and the collectors, past the security detail, until they lock onto him, the antagonist. With a surge of adrenaline, you bypass the velvet rope, your hand brushing against a priceless canvas as you make your way directly to the display. Immediately, the guard hesitates, confused by your directness. by the sheer audacity of your demand in this sanctified space. It's enough. You reach the display case, your fingers already moving towards the statuette. What is the meaning of this intrusion? The antagonist's voice, smooth as polished steel, slices through the air. Your presence is inappropriate. Inappropriate? You turn, the bronze statuette now cradled in your hand. Perhaps, but murder, I assure you, is far more so. You meet his gaze, unwavering. This statuette, Mr. Antagonist's role, isn't merely an antiquity. It's a key to a truth you've kept buried for decades. A truth that now links directly to the death of recent murder victims' role. Murmurs ripple through the elite crowd. The family patriarch's face, usually impassive, tightens with displeasure. Nonsense, the antagonist scoffs. A curious coincidence, wouldn't you say? You press a hidden seam on the base of the statuette, a mechanism only the insider's knowledge had revealed. With a soft click, the cavity opens. The journalist, now positioned strategically, raises their discreet camera, capturing the antagonist's rapidly draining color, the patriarch's rigid posture. The recent murder, you continue, your voice resonating with the weight of years, was not just about silencing a blackmailer. It was about preventing this, the full, undeniable truth, from seeing the light of day. It was about protecting a legacy built on lies and blood, a legacy that started with your grandfather's ambition and continued with your own. The antagonist's mask finally cracks. His eyes dart around, searching for an escape, for a way to regain control. The eyes of the room, of the cameras, are fixed on you, on the damning evidence in your hand. This is a setup. The antagonist snarls, his voice losing its polished edge, becoming shrill. A baseless accusation. The confession, the locket, the forensic evidence tying the recent murder victim to this statuette, you counter, all tell a different story. The story of two lives extinguished to protect a dynasty built on deceit. The air crackles with the tension of a pulled trigger. The reckoning has begun. The air, thick with the ghosts of untold fortunes and whispered bids, crackles. The antagonist, their carefully constructed facade now fractured, stands before you, stripped bare by the unflinching light of truth. No shot rings out, no desperate lunge for escape. Just the slow, agonizing collapse of a carefully curated lie. You watch as their eyes, once sharp with cunning, cloud with a grim resignation. The weight of your evidence, a meticulously woven tapestry of deceit and death, settles upon them like a shroud. A single, almost imperceptible nod from you, and the uniformed officers, who had been poised like statues in the periphery, move in. It is the sound of an ending and a beginning. Junior officers secure the perimeter, cataloging the very air you breathe. The chief arrives, his face a mask of weary satisfaction. He offers no grand pronouncements, only a shared glance that speaks volumes of battles fought and victories hard won. The prosecutor, a woman whose legal mind cuts like a diamond, begins to direct the collection of the final damning pieces of the puzzle. You observe her, a quiet architect of justice, already building the fortress of a case that will hold. You step back, allowing the machinery of the law to grind forward, and the true gravity of the moment settles. The carefully concealed layers of the powerful family's enterprise, their decades of untouchable influence, begin to peel away like ancient wallpaper. It is not just a family, but the family. The same threads of power, the same ruthless protection of image over life that wove through the murder you just solved, stretch back, unbroken, to the tragedy that scarred your own past. Your failure, the case that had haunted your every waking moment, was not a failure of your own making. It was a calculated manipulation, a sacrifice offered to preserve a dynasty. The long-buried secret from your own life, the one that festered like an unhealed wound, now stands exposed, not as your fault, but as their crime. The victim you couldn't save, the justice you couldn't deliver then, suddenly aligns with the present. A profound weariness settles into your bones, deeper than any physical exhaustion. The weight you have carried for so long, the phantom burden of guilt, begins to lift, not with a sudden release, but with the slow, deliberate grace of a glacier calving. You walk past a display case holding a shimmering necklace, its gems catching the artificial light, then past a canvas depicting a serene landscape, oblivious to the storm that has just passed. The opulence of the setting feels almost grotesque now, a testament to the very power that sought to obscure the truth. Later, as the last of the key figures are led away, their faces etched with the dawning horror of their fall, you find yourself alone with the chief. He places a hand on your shoulder, a gesture rare and meaningful. "Cole," he says, his voice a low rumble. "You cut through the rot." There is no triumph in his tone, only the quiet acknowledgement of a job done, a debt paid. You look out through a grimy window, past the velvet ropes and the hushed corners, to the city lights beginning to prick the twilight. Justice, a fragile, often elusive thing, has been served. The powerful family, once considered untouchable, will face their reckoning. But the victory is not without its costs. The scars of the past, though no longer festering with self-blame, remain. The faces of the fallen, the echoes of the wronged, will forever be etched into the landscape of your memory. Yet, a measure of peace, like the first tentative light after a long night, begins to bloom within you. You have faced the ghosts, not by banishing them, but by understanding their true nature. You have confronted the system, not by breaking it, but by bending it towards the truth.